Hello knitters, my name is Tanis. This is the Knitting Not Screaming podcast. I'm based towards the south coast of the UK, down kind of towards Portsmouth way. Not quite Portsmouth. Yeah, welcome. Thank you very much for coming back. If you are a returning viewer, if you're new here, thank you very much for joining me. As I say, I'm a general crafter. I knit, I crochet, a very small amount. I embroider, all kinds of, just whatever takes my fancy really, but mainly I do knitting. I have an Etsy shop called Jim Poodle, jimpoodle.etsy.com if you're interested, where I mainly sell these 1940s style hairnets called snoods. Normally I would show you the colours that I've been making recently, but I've only really been making black ones, and most of those have sold as soon as I've made them, so I don't really have any shop stuff to share with you this week. I haven't finished any project bags or any more Jim Poodles. Jim Poodles are like a poodle shaped bottle cozy. I may or may not. I don't think I've shown you. I found a new pattern for those that I'm going to try, which I'll show you later. But let's just kind of get into it, shall we? Now then, I have, amazingly for me, I only really podcast when I finish something. I don't finish things very quickly, so I generally podcast maybe every 3 or 4 weeks, sometimes a bit longer. This time I have finished 3 things, which for me is outstanding. I'm counting one of these as a finished object that was actually a finished object last time, because it is my Always Be Brave shawl, which was a test knit for Helen Kennedy design. So I'm just going to do a bit of a search about for it. Oh, I've not planned this very well, have I? There it is, right down the bottom. Now, I did the test knit for this, and I didn't check that my yardage properly when I cast it on, and this brown, which is the main colour, had slightly less yardage than was needed for the pattern, but I thought it'll be fine, I'll just wing it, and it wasn't fine. So when I got to the last repeat, mine's quite low contrast, I didn't have enough to do this row of bubbles or chains, so I had to contact the Wool Kitchen, who's a dyer of that yarn, and ask her if she had any more, and it was a special, so she didn't. But she suggested another yarn, which is actually, this is a brown, but the yarn she suggested is actually more of a grey tone, and you know what? You can't see it. So mine finished at the previous repeat, and it did make the balance of the shawl a little bit off, I found. So she sent me that, and she was absolutely brilliant. So I then put in the last section, and I don't think you can even see. Can you see where? Because I think the new yarn starts there, and it's only to like one row, part of one row that I'd run out of yarn for. But I love this, so I'm counting this as a finished object, even though it was finished last time. So I think you would wear this kind of bandana style, wouldn't you? Is that what you call bandana style? So I watched another podcast this morning that called this bandana style. I've got a different location again today. I was sitting over the other side of this room last week, and today I just felt like sitting on the sofa. Just pure laziness. But I think the light's better here. I think the light's better over this side, although maybe a little bit too good. See, I'm really happy with that. I'm calling that a finished object, and it has an I-cord bind off, and the green that you bind off with is a Triskelion yarn, and it's got it's a silk blend, so, and it binds itself really quite nicely when you block it. So unpicking it wasn't hard, but it wasn't like super easy. You couldn't just like rip it out. So yeah, so that is truly done now, but I need to take some new updated photos really for the testnet and upload those to Ravelry. So I might do that when I'm all set up with a stand and everything for this. Not now, obviously, that would be rude. My other thing, do you know what? I think this might be one of the nicest shawl. This might actually be the nicest shawl I've ever made. Like the prettiest. I think I really enjoyed making a Vertices Unite. That was a lot of fun. I always enjoy, well, I say always, I've only done two in the past. The West Knits MCal, which I'm doing that one. I'll show you the yarn that I bought for that later. But I love Helen Stewart Designs Curious Handmade. I absolutely love her patterns. And she does very pretty, but without being too pretty. Look at this. Honestly, it's so lovely. And it's got this lovely little, she quite often puts these simple, can you see, lace sections in. And they look fancier than they are to make. They're super easy. This part, the dark blue is West Yorkshire Spinners Exquisite Lace. So you can literally see straight through me. So if I was rude, stuck my tongue out at you, you could probably see that through there. Oh, but I love it. It's such a nice thing. Now I may not wear it this way. I may wear it the sort of traditional. Oh, look, I get all the tears with my ends. Hold on, because I've got a cushion behind me, so I don't have a lot of fannying about room at the back. See, I probably won't wear it that way because I'm quite busty, so putting more bulk at the front isn't always great for me. So I think I'm going to wear this traditional style. I saw someone on another podcast kind of call this old granny style. I'm cool with that. Oh, look. Oh, I love it. Oh, that's so nice. See, and then I might put like a little brooch or something here just to keep it all snugged up. Oh, I love it. And this yarn was a D-stash yarn that I bought Facebook Marketplace, Ravelry D-stash stuff, something like that. It's a Turkish yarn I'd never heard of before. It's called something like Muklux. And it's an Angora alpaca blend, also a lace weight, and it goes from creams into greys into pinks and back again, and it's so lovely. I'm quite tempted to make another one of these and use that because I've got tons of this left, and just do that section with that yarn again, but have my main colour something different, like maybe like I really fancy like a sort of toasty nutmeggy colour. I think that'd be lovely. I'm really tempted. I know I say this a lot when I make things. I say, just cast on another one. I could definitely do that. Always Be Brave shawl again. My only thing with this is that sort of asymmetric shape, which I find quite difficult to wear. I really like these triangle shaped shawls. And I like crescent shapes too. I'm not so keen on the asymmetric ones, although they're fun. They're more fun to knit. Or are they? Are they more fun? I don't know. They're just, I like knitting them, but I find the actual wearing of them a little bit difficult. But yeah, if you want to try this one, this was part of, I think, shawl season 5. I think it was number 5. Oh god, I've got a stray hair sticking out of my fringe. Oh, gotcha. Oh, it was just over one eye. Yeah, I think it was season 5. And typical me, I thought I'd sign up to that and keep up with the whole thing, and I totally didn't. I have made quite a few of them, and they're all really good. There was one I think called Silver River. That was lovely too. But yeah, oh, this feels so nice on, because we're just starting to get that sort of like autumnal weather here, and there's just a bit of a chill in the air. It's not warm, yeah, not warm, not cold, yeah. Although I have got thick tights on, but yeah, it's just enough just to throw over. I'm going to keep that on, I think. Oh, very happy with that. Oh, my other thing I finished. Now, I've never been in the past a monogamous knitter. The only times I've been a monogamous, single projects. I never concentrate on a single project. And the only times I have is when I've taken a commission for a vintage knit, and I stopped doing that because I found putting the time pressure to complete something by a deadline in that way I didn't enjoy at all. I really enjoy the West Knits Mystery Knit Along, which obviously you've got to complete a certain amount every week if you want to keep up with it. But I didn't find the pressure of knitting something for someone else that enjoyable. So I thought, I'm just not going to do that anymore. I'll make what I feel like making. And also, if you take a commission, obviously you've got to knit something using the yarn and the colour of yarn that they like. And then I found people were choosing colours that I'm not massively keen on. Like, I mean, everyone in the vintage community really like lavender, and I cannot stand lavender. In fact, most shades of purple really give me the ick. So, yeah, so that was a bit, that wasn't so great. So now I just make what I feel like making, and if it sells, it sells, and if it doesn't, that's fine. And I've just realised I've left a book over there. I'm just going to pause you for a minute. Right, we're back, almost seamless. If you're into vintage knitting, or you want to get into vintage knitting, this is a really good book to get. Practical Knitting Illustrated. It comes up for sale quite regularly on places like World of Books, eBay. You'll see it at vintage fairs, and you will sometimes see it in charity shops. It is a bit of a staple. It has a lot of really good patterns in, and it also has loads of really good advice. It kind of basically talks you through how to make everything. So there's whole sections about techniques, how to adapt things, how to kind of make your own patterns. There's like stitch directories in here. It's absolutely lovely, and it has all kinds of vintage patterns in. And I fancy kind of working my way through it, just making the things that sort of tickle my fancy. So I've made this. This is called Sports Jersey. Cables from the Shetland Sports Jersey. So you're supposed to make it in Shetland wool. I've just made mine in Merino, just standard Merino yarn. And here it is. So pretty. And it's exactly the same. The front piece and the back piece you make exactly the same. So it doesn't really matter which way round you put it. But I thought that might freak people out. So I've sewn a label in it. And here it is. I mean, it's all cable and moss stitch, which made it quite a slow knit for me. And it's worn quite high in your neck. So it has this like ingenious opening. So you don't sew up an inch from the neckband down. And it's knitted in pieces. Most vintage patterns are. But you have like a little popper. Is there a little popper on the neck? But on both sides, just so you can get it over your head, and then you popper it closed again once it's on. And it's super cute. It's not for me because it's not my colour or my size. I'm too busty for it, and I don't tend to wear short sleeve things because that also I tend to knit, because if I wear short sleeve things, it just adds bulk right across that line where I really don't need it. But a longer sleeve looks better on me. I can't wear short sleeve things either because, again, gives me too much bulk looking for me. This is my personal view of myself. I'm not saying that this is a rule for busty women everywhere. But yeah, I'm super happy with that. I'm so happy with it that if I ever make another one, I'd probably quite enjoy it. But it was part of my thing of, excuse this thing. This is my lamp for nighttime knitting. Yeah, because I decided with it, this is one of the things that I thought I'll just make it when I feel like making it. When I wasn't really concentrating on doing like one project at a time or anything. And it's literally taken me years. I think, well, I mean, we moved into this house 3 years ago, and I think I'd already cast this on when we lived in the flat in Fleet. So yeah, this has been on the needles a long time, and I'm glad it's done. And it lives in this little organza bag. So if you've ever bought anything from the Wool Warehouse, you'll recognise that. That's living in there for now, and then that will go into storage until someone buys it, because that's for sale in my Etsy shop, aimed at vintage loving peeps. And yes, I know people always say, oh, you can't sell things that you've made, you don't make any money out of it. I mean, people will pay a premium for hand knits, I find. I think you can kind of talk yourself out of selling things at the right price very easily, especially if you listen to people who don't knit. It's kind of, you got to price for your market, right? It's the person who talks to you at your knitting group, who maybe, you know, somebody who maybe knits mainly acrylic blankets for charities, that kind of thing, and baby clothes. Yeah, people do go to Primark and buy those things dirt cheap and won't pay very much for them. But I find people are, I mean, I've seen something very similar. Mine's nowhere near that, but I've seen one similar for sale on Etsy for £225. And let me tell you, that won't be there for long. Someone will snap that up. And that was using the King Cole, which is a very commercial yarn in the UK. They do a 100% merino. They call it Anti-Tickle because it's superwash. Anti-Tickle blend merino wool, and that was very affordable. I think a 500 gram cone comes coned, and I've got about 3 or 4 cones in different colours. I think it's about £25 for 500 grams, which is pretty reasonable. I mean, that's cheaper than West Yorkshire Spinners yarn, which is, I think, kind of one of the affordable ones too. So I'm really pleased with that. And that is it for me with finished objects. I'm so pleased with myself. I never finish things. Well, I mean, I do finish things eventually, but not, you know, not as quick as I'd like to make them. So now we're on to whips, and I do have a few. Not tons and tons, because I kind of want to get things off the needles that are smaller projects ahead of, I keep saying it, the West Knits MCAL. So my first thing is, now I literally just picked that up and put it down again. This is another vintage pattern. Now I showed you this, I think, last time. Just in the corner there you can just about see there's a knitted handbag. That's the next poodle I'm going to make. I love him. Now I think I might have shown you this before. I'm making this bag. You hold 3 strands of DK yarn together to make it, and I am not very sure about that. I thought that's going to really get on my wick. That's just not very me. I don't really like using multi, you know, lots of people say there's a fly in here, if you can hear it. I hope it isn't driving you mental. It's drive me crazy. And I've got a cat. I mean, she should. That's her job. Anyway, she's outside telling herself. Yeah, usually, sometimes when there's a pattern for something DK and people say, well, just hold 2 strands of 4-ply together, and I just think, no thanks, I'll just buy some DK. So I thought I'd have a go at making it. I wasn't really sure about how it would turn out, and I didn't want to spend a fortune on the yarn in case I didn't fancy it once I'd started, and I can't work out. Well, I haven't tried very hard to work out, but I can't work out what weight of sort of chunky, super chunky yarn 3 strands of DK would be. I'm not sure that. I think it would probably be like a super chunky, but I don't really want to chance it. So here it is. I've done an inch. So it's like it's a fisherman's rib. And I like this kind of wine colour because I think that's a good colour for a knitted bag, because a knitted bag, obviously not unlike a plastic or leather bag, if you spill something on it, it's going to soak into it, isn't it? And that will show less, that will show dirt much less quickly than a lighter colour. And because I'm only trying it out, and I don't really mind if it goes wrong and I don't end up making it, I bought this yarn, which is 100% acrylic yarn from Poundland. So I've got 3 balls of this, and according to the pattern I'll need another 3 balls, because these are 50-gram balls, so I'll need another 150 grams to finish it. I just want to see how I get on with it. So far I'm quite happy with it. I like fisherman's rib, but I've just got to do that for like 10 inches before I do the shaping. And yeah, I would say holding 3 strands together is not making me massively happy. It's not my favourite thing, but it's bearable. It's not as bad as I thought it'd be. I definitely have chosen the wrong colour to knit with in the evening. So on Thursdays I only concentrate on doing vintage knits. So this will probably be my Thursday project for the time being, because then I can do that in the daytime. So yeah, but by and large, quite happy with that. See, I'm going to line mine with fabric. I can't remember what the pattern says, whether I think the pattern just tells you to just kind of sew it up and attach it to a 9-inch bag frame. Let's have a look. To make up, yada yada yada, hem it. Oh no, you do make a lining. Oh, that's okay. That's cool. Yeah. Line it, attach a bag frame, and that's that done. So hopefully that'll turn out all right. We'll see. Would like to find out what that equivalent. If you know what the equivalent of 3 strands of DK yarn is in just whatever, I'd appreciate that. I mean, I could try googling it, couldn't I? If I wasn't so lazy. Oh yes, I've got another vintage project. So once I finish work for the day, I have like each day I concentrate on making something from a different aspect of what I make for my shop. So Mondays I just make snoods, and like today I'm supposed to be weaving today, but I wasn't in the mood, didn't really fancy it, so I'm not going to do weaving today. I might do weaving tomorrow. I'm having a kind of lazy day today. In fact, I'm having such a lazy day that I didn't get changed out my gym jams. I didn't actually get properly washed and dressed and everything until after 10 o'clock today, which is unheard of for me. No reason, I'm just having a lazy day. And you know what I had for lunch today? Chocolate cake. Big thick slice of chocolate cake. Because I can. Because I'm an adult and I can choose to eat bad things if I want. weird day food. Now what I do need, sorry, I've gone right off on a tangent there, haven't I? So on Thursdays I do vintage knits, so that'll be that bag, because I'll need to be in daylight to do that. But in the evenings I like to alternate between projects. I'll do like an hour on one thing and an hour on another thing and an hour on something else, because I get bored just doing the same thing all the time. So my evening project it's my next thing out of this book, and I think this is pretty lovely. But I'm going to have to find it first. It's a scarf. It's a hooded scarf. Here it is. There it is. So it's hoods for winter. And the little bit underneath here says, take a leaf out of the Rich Girls Winter Sports album and knit this hood for yourself. It will keep you warm through rain and snow, as well as keeping your hair in perfect order despite wind and weather. I mean, you could ask for anything more. So basically you cast on a scarf width of stitches, and then you rib for like 12 inches. Then you cast on more stitches to make the hood part, which you seam up the back later. And then once you've got down the other side, you cast off those extra stitches and then just do another 12 inches of scarf. So I'm using my leftover yarn from the sports sweater. It's a really pretty colour, and I've got loads of it left. I haven't weighed this, but look at the size of this whopper. I mean, that's got to be, I think that's probably a 150 gram ball, maybe. And then I reckon I've got probably about maybe 70 grams there. Got tons of it. I've not done very much. Literally, look, just a couple of little rows. But it's really, really squishy and lovely. It just feels really nice because you're knitting it on it's a 4mm needle. Normally, if I'm knitting a vintage pattern, I will use imperial needles too. But this time I haven't, and I can't think why. I just decided not to. Oh, maybe it's because I squish up into this bag easier if it's circular needles. Probably. It was probably something as mundane as that made me choose. So yeah, I'm really keen to get cracking. Now once you've cast something on, then that's all really you want to do. So yeah, the rest of this afternoon I think I might do a bit more of that. And then of course it's Strictly season, isn't it? So tonight when I'm watching Strictly, that's not on until 6:15, and it's only 2:15 now. It's quite ages before I do that. My Strictly socks this year are socks I'm making for the Mister. Normally I always make sparkly Strictly socks. When I say Strictly socks, I'm assuming you know what I mean. You know the podcast Little Drops of Wonderful, which is wonderful. She hosts a knit along every year that's really fun. I'm already cheating on mine because I'd cast mine on before Strictly started, but that is because I was reading, because you're allowed to cheat. This is the best thing. I was reading Anton Dubek's book. Oh, what's it called? Let's not worry about what it's called because it's an absolute stinker. But I was listening to that on audiobook. So that meant really that I could cast on my Strictly socks. So yeah, these are for the Mister. He has been requesting a pair of brown socks for a long time, at least a couple of years. And I just didn't really want to make a pair of brown socks. I thought that sounded really boring. But then I found this yarn in a local yarn store. It's the Regia Perfect. But look at them. Oh, I love that. Really nice stripes. You know, I've shown them to him and he likes them. I think men's socks look enormous. Do you think they look enormous? I held it, I said that to the mister. I said to him, like, do you think these look way too big? Because to me they look massive. And so we held them up because they're on those flexi flip things. So we held them to his leg, and it does fit. It does fit him with a bit of negative ease as well. So they're not that massive, but they look absolutely huge to me. So yeah, these are my Strictly socks. So I'm hoping to get that pair done within the season. So that means, oh no, sorry, they're not called flexi flips out here, are they? They're Addy Crazy Trios. These ones, I love those. I get on really well with those. I normally use DPNs when I knit socks. Not really a magic looper. I don't really get it. It just seems a bit of faff to me. But these I love. And I find with those you get less danger if your stitch is falling off your needle. Don't know about you, but I tend to use, if I'm using DPNs, I will use one of these cozies that you pop those in, but you can pop like, so your sock would like hang down that bit, and then that protects them from falling off the end. Because otherwise, if I just chuck them in my bag, pretty much guaranteed I'll knock all my stitches off. These you get from Pickle Lily. I mean, other people make them, but Pickle Lily does what I think are the nicest ones. And this is my gold one because this is the one that I would normally use for Strictly socks. So I'm hoping to finish those socks with a mister quickly enough that I can cast on a pair of more sparkly socks for me. Can't decide whether to buy the, if they've got it, I'm going to Southsea tomorrow, so I'll pop into Seeded, the lovely yarn shop down there. I'm going down there for a beach walk tomorrow morning with a mister. So if we pop in there, if they've got the West Yorkshire Spinners Christmas colourway in sparkle, I'll buy that. Otherwise, I've got some Dragon Hill Studios self-striping sparkly sock that I'll cast on using those later. Well, after those ones. And then my last work in progress is another pair of socks for the mister, which these are my reading group socks. So my local library has a reading group called the Digital Readers Group, and every month we vote on what book we're going to read next, and you can either read it as an ebook or as an audiobook. And I tend to go for the audiobook so that when I'm out and about, because I'm like a 25-minute walk into town from here, so when I'm walking to and from town to the post office, I like to have an audiobook on the go. Or the Archers. I love the Archers. So, when we have a Zoom meeting once a month to talk about the book, and when we're in that Zoom meeting, it's only on for an hour, and I knit on a pair of socks for the mister. Do you know, this is lovely fluffy yarn, which I think he can wear as a pair of slippers, and it's the Rico one. What is it called? Rico something or other. Which is helpful, isn't it? Rico something or other. Rico Superbar Twirl. And the little picture on the back shows you what they're supposed to look like. Yeah, it's pretty reasonable stuff. 100 grams, 390 meters. It's a 75/25 wool, and it's £8.50. But because it's soft and fluffy, I'm using this, which I can't remember. I think it's Opal, and I think it was called something like Newsprint. So I'm using that for heels and toes, just to give them a bit more oomph. So that's what it looks like on the toe, which I think is pretty cool. And I'm going to do my first ever afterthought heel with these. Can you hear thumping? That's my cat running around. Little Lulu, tiny little cat, but she really thumps about. Anyway, I've never done an afterthought hill before, and to be honest, I don't really know how to do it. I know kind of, but I've never actually done one. I'm a little bit nervous about doing it, but lots of people make them, don't they? So I mean, how hard can it be? Can't be that bad, can it? Surely. So yeah, when I finish the other one, because I've cast on the second sock and haven't got terribly far with it. Look, it doesn't even stick out the. This is another pickle lily. Look, little cats on. Yeah, I'm still on the ribbing, and I am not doing them identical. They're close enough. I don't really like too matchy my socks. Well, it's not I don't like it, it's just I just don't care enough to do it. And I tried to do it a little bit with that. I pulled off yarn till I got to that black bit to cast on with, but I didn't. I should have pulled off to halfway through the black yarn and I didn't. So I didn't bother doing that at all because they're still nowhere near matching, even though I tried to have a little go at matching them and turned out I was rubbish at it. So we're not going to worry about it. We are not going to worry about that. I've got a few little purchases because I went to the Autumn Unravel at Farnham Mortons. Unravel's my favourite yarn show of the year. Well, in fact, it's the only one I can get to. So, yeah, I had a lovely time. I really love Unravel. The Autumn one is much smaller. So if you find yarn shows a bit overwhelming, the one Unravel in February can be very busy and it's packed with traders. The autumn one is a much more relaxed affair with far fewer traders. This time it just happened to fall on the day of the year of September when it was absolutely roasting. It was boiling hot. So I'd had plans of what knitwear to wear and all that kind of stuff. And of course that all went out the window because of global warming. So there was one room upstairs that was so hot, like I don't know, you couldn't really stay in there. And that was where, was it that room? I think it was that room where Nellie and Eve was, who I wanted to buy my my yarn for the make-along from. And she was absolutely lovely because I dithered a lot over my colour choices and she really helped me. Nellie and Eve, here it is. I think this is a new yarn base for her. These are plant dyed yarns, British Welsh local wool. Colours inspired by the landscape and seasons of a Welsh mountain, hand dyed in West Wales, UK. Oh, it's lovely. And it's Masham. This one's chest. This is what I'm going to use for the MCAL, where you need a gradient. It doesn't have to be a gradient in the same colour. It just needs to go from light to dark. So that's chestnut. I think that's my number 4 colour. This one is fox. That'll be my number 3, I think. Is that my 3? Yeah. This one is moss. That's my number 2. And then, oh, this one. Look at this one. This one's called Tawny. So that is what my, oh no, it's that way around, isn't it? Sorry. That's what mine's going to look like. Oh, it's quite hard to hold them together in one go like that. Have another go. There we are. That's nice, isn't it? Oh, I'm really happy with that. So yeah, that's my yarns for the knit along. And as I say, I bought those at Unravel this year where it was roasting hot. And where I've got myself in a tiz and it was so hot, I put the pin number in wrong. But you know when you tap your card and then it randomly asks you for your pin number, and man, I'm tapping that card like video. And I never forget my PIN number, and it just went totally out of my head. And then I thought I'd remembered it, and obviously I hadn't. And I ended up locking my bloody credit card in the middle of a yarn festival. I mean, so annoying. I know you can go to a cash point and unlock it, but so many banks have closed, there wasn't a compatible bank for me to unlock it in the whole of the town. The nearest one would have been Aldershot, which is miles away. And I don't drive, so yeah, I would have had to have gone and got a train to Aldershot, found the bank, unlocked it, come back again. But luckily, I had my debit card with me too, so that all was not lost. But if I hadn't have had my debit card with me, that would have been my day absolutely ruined, and no way of unlocking my card. It's so annoying. This is what annoys me with when they close the banks, because it's all very well saying you can do everything online. You can't. You actually can't do everything online. And if you're going to take the bank away, you should at least leave your cash point behind, because it leaves you with literally nothing. You can do some things through a cash point machine that you can't do online, and you need them. So I just feel like the banks have a responsibility to us to provide better facilities if they're going to close the branches. In fact, I'm seriously tempted to change my bank because I'm so hacked off about it, because the same bank, the branch is closed here too. So if I locked my PIN number, my card again here, I wouldn't be able to unlock it in town. In fact, I found out that Tesco cash points accept my bank's cards for it. Well, the Tesco cash points are run by my bank, even though they're branded as Tesco, and Tesco have their own branded bank. The cash points are actually run by another bank. So that allowed me to unlock my card, because otherwise I would have had to have travelled to somewhere like Portsmouth or Southsea to unlock my card, and that's just not acceptable, is it? Not acceptable at all. I'll stop ranting about banks now, but it just makes me angry because not everyone can do things online as well. I mean, some people are quite frightened of my in-laws, just think that if they go online, and to be fair, they probably would get scammed because they're not tech savvy at all, and they're not even that old, you know. They're only like early 70s, and yeah, it's rubbish. It's rubbish the way that everything is going online and expected. It's forcing everyone to do everything. There's no other option on things, and it just makes me angry because it's leaving a whole section of the country disadvantaged, and it's just not right. It's not right. We need to protect people who need to access things in a face-to-face way. Right, I'm going to stop ranting about that now. Let's get back onto Lovely Unravel, where everything is beautiful. Knit and Living. I always buy something from Knit and Living. Oh, I'll tell you what's so annoying though. Knit and Living always have on their stand little kits, and they also sell the printed version of patterns. So I love a printed pattern. I normally buy my patterns through Ravelry, modern patterns. My vintage patterns I buy, in books or patterns from charity shops. But modern patterns I buy through the Ravelry, but I print them off because I like a printed pattern. I like to make marks on them, and you don't need to charge a piece of paper, which is always my thing because I'm always running out of batteries. So I bought my Sophie scarf pattern from Knit and Living, and I've lost the damn thing. I don't know what I've done with it. I know I've seen it recently. It was on my desk upstairs, my little home office, and then after ages and ages I thought I'm going to have to move it from there because that is the wrong place for it. And everywhere where I think I've put it, it isn't. So I'm really annoyed. So I'm going to have to buy it again because I've had this idea that I want to make some little Sophie scarves to give as a gift, and I'm going to wrap them up in a patisserie box because you can fold them up so that they look like little croissants, and I thought that'd be a really cute idea, but I've totally lost the pattern. I'm so annoyed with myself. because, you know, I've already paid £4.50 for the pattern. I don't want to pay another £4.50 for it. Because it's such a simple pattern as well. Anyway, I bought this. This is like these little macarons. And they're full of bulb stitch markers. I don't need this at all, but it was just super cute. And if she has them again next time I see her, probably at Unravel in February, I might buy the coral coloured one as well, because they're such pretty colours, and I just think they're nice to pop in. Speaking of bowls, this is another little, oh, I bought this from them as well. Oh my lovely, they're little stoppers for Indian needles. I'm going to use these. Oh, I'm going to put them in that bag now, actually, come to think of it, for the MCAL. This bag, which is really nice, is from Sealed with a Stitch on Etsy. I bought this before I started making my own project bag. But to be honest, I don't even use my own project bags because they're in my shop to sell. Not for me to use. Although I've got one that I made that was bright pink with cartoon cats on. And that I've kept one of those for me. Oh look, that's a really nice little postcard from Nellie and Eve. So, I saw several people selling kits for the MCAL, and there were quite a few of them that I wanted to buy. I nearly bought another set that was pinks, but I'd set my heart on buying a set from Nellie and Eve, because I love that whole like plant dyed thing, and them being dyed in Wales, and her being, you know, the meeting the person that's made that dyed them, and the unusual yarn. Anyway, but of course there was also earth yarns there, and earth yarns, oh my god, I don't think I bothered to look at their stall before. I've seen them before, and for some reason I just walked past it because I'm an idiot. Because her yarns are so inexpensive and they're lovely, and I can't remember where she's from. Is she Portuguese? I can't remember. I really can't remember. Anyway, she had a deal. Her skeins of 4-ply yarn in these beautiful colours. This one's called Harvest, I think. Are they all Harvest? No, this one's called Harvest. They were £10 each. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? And they're still a 400 metre. Yeah, still 400 metres. Extra fine merino, this one says. And if you bought 4, you got a 5th one free. I mean, that's insane, isn't it? So they were actually £7.50 each, were they? Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I'm not very rubbish at maths. So, this was my alternative selection for the MCAL. But, which would work beautifully, wouldn't it? That would also be beautiful. And this was my extra random, well, this would make a lovely Sophie scarf, I thought. Because I want to make them all into like croissant colours, from, you know, like a sort of unbaked through to kind of slightly overcooked. And I've got some like part balls of brown autumnal colour yarns that would work perfectly. If only I could find that sodding pattern. Anyway, these are good. They feel amazing. I wish you could kind of feel them, because they're so soft and they're such lovely colours. I don't know why I haven't discovered her before. So this is a big deal for me now that I found another. And look, she packages them in these sort of like paper, these lovely paper boxes. Really lovely. So yeah, that's quite a big deal for me. I'm going to have to try to remember that she's quite a go-to person for affordable yarns, because I'm trying to scale back my spending. So I think that's pretty much that's all I bought. Yeah. Oh, the only other thing I've I've shown you the I've got my lipstick caught in it. Nice lipstick. It's what am I using? Is that an Estee Lauder? Yeah. That's a black snood that I've just listed now. Same as I've got on. Well, only that's a medium. This is a small because I've got short hair. I haven't finished this yet. It's still a bit rough around the edges on the back. This is my current embroidery project. I like her a lot. My last one I did cat ears. It's a hairstyle where you have you backcomb your hair. I've done a very slight version of cat ears today. Because I have such fine hair. I don't have enough hair to do victory rolls like this, but I like them. So yeah, she's back to a bright yellow felt. I won't show you that too, because I need to put a braid around here to hide the edges of the felt, which don't look that great. But yeah, I'm really pleased with that. And I love my slippers. Look, scuffed right through them. So I bought this from a local fabric shop. It's like a sort of red, sort of vinyl-y stuff. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to trace around the bottom of my slippers with that, and then I'm going to just like hot melt glue that on the bottom. And I don't have, it's all carpeted here. I don't have any polished wood floor, so there's no worry about skidding off in them. But that's quite textured anyway, so I don't think it would be slippery. So that will save these slippers. So I really like these slippers, and I don't want to just sort of throw things away, really. Apart from that, really, it's just what we've been doing recently. I read, I don't know if I told you about this last time. Did I tell you that I read The Girl on the 88 Bus? That's the digital readers book this month. No, I didn't. That's good. Yeah, it's a really lovely read. It's about a woman who she split up with her boyfriend quite suddenly. Well, he's said he wants a bit of a break to think about it, and she comes to London and she gets chatting to this old fella on the bus, and she looks a bit like a woman that he met on the bus years and years ago, and he's spent 60 years trying to find this woman who he was supposed to go on a date with, and then he lost her number in the 60s. So he couldn't contact her, and he basically had no way of finding. He lost the thing of like when they were supposed to meet and where and everything. Anyway, he's been riding this bus hoping to bump into this woman to thank her, because she sketched him on the bus, and they had a bit of a chat and a little bit of a flirt. But she'd given him the kick up the bum he needed to stop working in his family shop and pursue an acting career. And he'd spent his life, acting in West End plays, and had never he'd never become like famous or rich or anything. But he'd had a nice life, and he thinks he wouldn't have been brave enough to do that if she hadn't have kind of given him the nudge to just go for it. Because she was attending art school in London, very much against her parents' wishes, and had moved to London, and they'd pretty much not disowned her, but they'd basically said, well, you've made your bed now, get on with it. And he kind of thought, well, if she can, I can, and he did. So that's a really nice read. Apart from that, don't think I've finished anything else to tell you about. We've really enjoyed watching on catch up. What's it called? Something like All of the Above, or from here on in, everything is based on a pack of lies. That's really good. It's a woman who's come out of a bad marriage where he's basically fleeced her and her family. He's a con man. She's married a con man, and then she just bumps into him in the street. She's made a new life for herself, and then she just sees him walking down the street in Oxford, and he walks straight past her and doesn't give her a second glance, and she follows him, and he's passing himself off as a environmental expert professor, and it's basically all about her trying to kind of expose him and kind of get a bit of revenge and stuff for what he's done to her family, because he literally went through all their savings and everything, and it turns out he's done it to lots of people. So that's really good. We really enjoyed that. But it's also got quite a lot of humour in it as well. So yeah, we enjoyed that. We went to the Goodwood Revival, which was amazing. There's so much to see though. I think there's quite a lot that we didn't even see. In fact, I know there is. And we did see Alison Hammond, who is, if anything, is even more beautiful in real life. She has amazing skin. Yeah, she was absolutely. I don't know. She's got that thing. She just has that sort of like a sort of happiness vibe that comes off her just looking at her. But yeah, lots of amazing things there. I went on the carousel. I love a carousel. They had a circus, like an open air circus that was performing all day. They had, like the war horse puppet, but they had an elephant one, so that was amazing. I mean, every type of vintage car you could ever want to see flying around the track was there. And also all the cars that people had driven there in parked up. We could go and have a look around. There was like a whole fairground. There was like loads of shopping, like clothes shopping. You really need comfortable shoes. We got the brochure, the programme and everything. And that's well worth getting. So much that we took our own picnic, because when we went to the members meeting earlier in the year, the food was quite pricey. So we decided to just sort of take our own picnic, so we didn't have to queue and didn't have to like sort of traipse around trying to find something we both wanted to eat and stuff. So I mean, but that was really good, because we just sat by the track watching the cars go around while we were eating our, oh god, what did I have? I had this garlic and mushroom pastry slicing, and it had so much garlic in it that I don't think you could have got it within 3 meters of me. It was very nice. Probably would have been nicer hot too, I'd say. But yeah, we really enjoyed that, and yeah, definitely want to go back again next year. So, oh, and Screw. Did you watch Screw? Did you watch the first series of Screw? It's a drama set in a UK prison, and it's mainly about one of the warders, Rose, about how her brother has got in trouble with a gang over drugs, and so she gets kind of manipulated by people in the prison to like smuggle things in for them. My little cat's here, Lulu. Hello, baby. Hello. And she's walking away now. That's really good. So that was the second series. We just finished watching that. So that was really good, and the other characters are really good in it too. I really recommend that. I've got one more purchase that I forgot to show you. I bought this on Etsy when they had their £5 off sale, and I've forgotten the name of the. Let me just very quickly look up the name of the person I bought this from. It's a chap, and he's a wood turner, and this is you. And I just love all the different markings. Now, I've had two in the past ceramic yarn bowls, which I absolutely loved, but I've smashed both of them. In fact, one of them I smashed twice, and I tried to stick it back together again, and yeah, that worked really well. Dave Player Wood Turner. That's him. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. No, probably not. Dave Player Wood Turner. I paid £21 for it. He didn't have very many in the shop when I bought mine, so maybe he's restocking soon, hopefully. Because they had that get 5 thing off, so it would normally be £26, and I think it's well worth it. It's very light, but it's got all these beautiful markings on it, and it's quite a generous size, so you can get quite a hefty cake of yarn in there. Oh, now I've said cake, and I know there's more chocolate cake in the kitchen. I might have to go. I think that's about it. I mean, the only other things I've done, I've started writing my journal again, and I've signed up for a creative journaling class. My library, it's a free art group, and it just teaches you how to be sort of expressive with art, watercolours and different art materials, to not like a serious, like I'm going to take up art, just so that you don't feel so self-conscious about keeping a little sort of creative sketchbook, or like a kind of, all I want to be able to do is like add some doodles and some little bits and bobs to my journal here and there, and not feel like a complete turnip when I do it. And apart from that, yeah, the only other thing I've done is, oh god, I had my 3 yearly mammogram. Man, the first one I've had 3 in my life. The first one I had was unbelievably painful. They clamped me. When you're full of busted, a mammogram is no fun. I suspect there's no fun for anyone, but they clamped me so tight that I felt like my skin was tearing and that my breast was actually going to burst. I can't describe it. It was horrible, really awful. And when I said about it being painful, they couldn't have cared less. She was just like, well, it needs to be like that because otherwise you won't get a good image. And I just thought, damn, this is what mammograms are like. And so then when my next checkup came, like routine checkup, and we'd moved by then, and I was absolutely dreading it, and we went to the QA and they couldn't have been nicer. Andy came with me because I was so frightened about having it done. Honestly, it was that painful, I was frightened of going. And they couldn't have been nicer, and they didn't hurt me at all. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, and they do squish your breast, and it's not, the nicest feeling. But she was like, well, we don't actually need to squash it so much that it makes, it's that painful. And in the previous one, I could have cried. I could have stood there and cried. And they really shove you around when you do it as well. Like, they really push you and pull you. And at the QA, they didn't do that. They did move you around, but not too much. Right. I've had another one, and it was in between the two. At a different clinic locally. And yeah, she shoved me around a lot. I felt like a piece of meat. It wasn't the greatest experience, and it was quite painful. So when my next one comes around, I'm going to have to try and remember to book it for QA, not for the local one. But don't let that put you off having a mammogram. That's just my experience. And as I say, I've had one that was absolutely a walk in the park. So, and I have 3 years now until I have to go back for another one, hopefully. So on that cheery note, I think I'm going to love you and leave you. And I hope you have a great weekend. And I shall see you again soon. Bye bye.